Thanks everybody for... What's up everybody? We are here with a bunch of top 500 players who are going to teach you how to get top 500 better than I possibly could. So I'm going to go down the list here and have them introduce themselves. First of all, we've got Brock.
Hello, I am Brock.com. You might know me from License to Pro. I've been playing this game since Splatoon 1, so I've got about 5 to 6 years of experience now. I mostly play frontlines, but I've shifted to support as well, so I can help out with that. And I've been to pretty much almost every major LAN tournament, so yeah.
Awesome, thank you, Brock. And then Chara.
Hi, I'm Chara. The teams I've been on previously are Climb, Lowkey, and Prophecy. Currently, I'm still playing for Climb. Some of my more notable results are second in Area Cup 35, which is the highest placing Western result in a Japanese tournament, and second at Nintendo's NA Championship in 2019. My peak XP is 2720, and I play Rapid and Octobrush. I'm a comp player, streamer, and a content creator.
Thank you. Ham?
I am HamRum. Was previously a player for Siege, high Div 1 team. Noticeable placements was 5th in the NA Open. Peak power is around 2,650. I play support, so I play N-Zap and Junior mostly. I'm currently a coach for WBG, and then I'm also starting a new comp team, and I stream occasionally.
Thank you. And last but not least, Shy.
Hi, I'm Shy. I've been on Alter Ego, Azure, and Electric Zoo, and I was on Last Hope and Splatoon 1, so I've been playing for a long time.
Can I just say, Shy is like really, really annoying with Charger. Like honestly, every time I have to play Shy, it's cringe. It's freaking cringe, dude. It's so annoying.
I've gone top 8 at every LAN I've attended, and I've been to like 4 or 5. So
Sick. All right. So let's talk a little bit about the project that we're going to be doing here. The video that we're going to be making here is how to get top 500. I don't know if all of you guys have seen the videos that I've made before, so like just so that you have an idea of what the videos are like. Basically what my process has been is I take a bunch of footage from lower level lobbies. Like I got a Switch from work which hadn't done anything on the account yet, and basically smurfed my way up to X rank in all of these game modes. And I took the footage from C rank and analyzed that and looked for patterns of mistakes that players were making. So like if I kept seeing the same kind of mistake multiple times from multiple different players, that became kind of a subheader, like one of the sections of the video that I went into. So things like what I call walk and shoot syndrome, where a player never swim strafes and just tries to like walk at you holding down the ZR button. That was something that I found. Poor knowledge of their weapon's range or of the zone that their weapon controls was another one. So patterns like that were what I tended to base the video on. And so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be showing you guys footage from lower level X rank. So I was looking for like 2300 to 2400 kind of level play, but it might be, you know, a little bit of a range. It's hard to say to someone, hey, play in this level of a lobby right now, you know. So it's going to be from around that area. I would guess like 2200 to 2400 is probably the range we're going to be seeing. And we're going to be looking, like I was looking in the previous videos, for those patterns of mistakes. And specifically, we're looking for mistakes that are like reversible, that we can turn into actionable advice. Walk and shoot syndrome, the answer to that is to learn to swim strafe and disengage when you're missing your shots or when you're getting hit. So like things that we can turn into advice instead of just, haha, you're bad. That's obviously what's going to be more useful for us. And we're trying specifically to look for patterns that generalize not to specific weapon classes but to every weapon class. So like the advice that we give to a frontliner should to some extent apply also to backliners. Like the more generalizable it can be, the less specific it's going to be to particular weapons, the better. But obviously there's going to be some stuff that like can't work that way. Like that's kind of what we're looking for here. We're looking for the biggest, broadest ideas that we're seeing across the board that everybody can work on. let's avoid tangents that won't result in useful advice. So, for example, like we could spend hours talking about, you know, the ideal build for a weapon or something, you know, like what gear they should be putting on it. But like you can min-max my gear build on K-Shot as much as you possibly want to, and you are not going to turn me into a Kiver by giving me that gear build, you know? What is it that will actually turn me into Kiver is kind of the question here. What is it that Kiver is doing that I'm not in-game? What are the things that will really be impactful on my play? While the goal isn't to make the process of improving easy for someone, because that's just not realistic, there's just too much time that you have to put into it, I want to aim for making the process of getting better more efficient for people, to make it so that an up-and-coming player doesn't have to work as hard and learn the hard way by trial and error as much as someone who was, say, a pioneer from the Splatoon 1 days who just kind of analyzed the game and came up with all of this on the spot. We want to kind of let them stand on the shoulders of giants. You guys are the giants. Also bear in mind that while, you know, obviously we are going to be focused on one of these players, they're all at this level that we're looking for, that we're trying to analyze. So any mistake that anyone makes in the entire game, this team, the other team, this player, anybody else, is fair game and will be useful to talk about for the video. So take that as a data point as well. So with that all out of the way, I think we're ready to jump into gameplay unless you guys have any questions. So here we go. And I can also slow this down if we want it in slow motion to talk about things.
I already want to talk about something.
All right.
The first thing I noticed is that they're not setting themselves up in position to like continue their like advantage. Like say for example, you pop here, right? They're not in a position where like if they get the pop, they're able to like move forward quickly and like just continue to apply pressure to the enemy team when you get that map control from the Rainmaker pop. So like here in this scenario, I would actually like try to go for the pop, but also strafe to the right so that you're in position of right side peek on the right side of that box immediately. You want to strafe to the right, to just position yourself in a spot where like you can immediately get a kill like off mid, because most people will do this. They'll go to mid and get the Rainmaker. So if you can position yourself in a spot that you can attack them quicker than they can attack you, then that's just another advantage for your team overall. They weren't paying attention to like their surroundings at all, and in general, that's just not a good play. With no map control over there, there's like no reason to risk yourself.
They already saw someone there too, so it really wasn't.
There was also no one basically in mid on the enemy team, so they should have like kind of known that people were going to be there. It wasn't going to have been like a surprise to me.
Yeah. Yep, Rush there is like not committing to anything on their side. They're just kind of like pinning around, which is okay if you want to get your special, but I think as a Rush, you need to like immediately apply pressure to let your back lines and mid lines like come up pretty easily. So they just keep trying to like force a fight here without needing to, when they could just be painting and stalling the Rainmaker here, because they're gonna get gradual special off of the enemy team holding the Rainmaker. I think just in general. Oh, go ahead.
I said I don't like where they popped that inkjet either. Like they kind of just popped it in the open. They could have popped it behind the ramp there, just for a little extra safety.
Yeah, that seemed more like a reaction than like a tactic they planned.
I don't think they're like actively thinking about how to use their special. I think they just wanted to use it because like they're just pushing. But if they have waited a bit more and like gotten more like map control there and push up to the left, the inkjet's a lot more useful on like vertical spaces, right? Because you can use the terrain to like move yourself up and catch people who are like hiding above, which is super crucial to get people out of.
I don't want to jump too far ahead because things have happened since. You get to jump in here.
Yeah, that's just like a miss. Like, that's just not understanding your matchup against that other weapon. Like, they should have known that at that point the machine can just keep swinging forever and just kill them. When they could just like,
as soon as they get hit, they should be backing up. But they're also not in a great position in the first
Yeah.
place.
They don't have any to back up at all.
Yeah.
So
They
you
just had to
mentioned
take off fight.
you mentioned not knowing the matchup versus the machine. Could you clarify what part of the matchup they're demonstrating they don't understand here?
the matchup here is like machine just outranges you and has a better hitbox than you when it fires. So like, if like two equally skilled players, one with machine, one with a Tentatek, fought in like an open area, like I'd say 9 out of 10 times the machine wins, right? Because they don't.
Yeah,
have
it's
to
either the
move as
machine
well.
wins or it's a trade. Because the machine
Yeah.
started firing first too, so.
So it's like, it's understanding that in this position out in the open where you have no cover whatsoever and you're not close enough to like guarantee your shots, then it's not a fight that you want to take.
Machine. If I can.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
It's a good matchup for Machine because Machine can reliably keep its range. Like reliably can keep its range while having solid mobility and being way easier to hit. So the shot can only win if it gets up close first before the engagement starts.
Exactly.
Awesome. Thank you. Go back to normal speed.
Can I just make a comment? They don't need to be closing and opening their map that much when they're respawning. They can just keep it open. There's really no reason for them to be doing that.
Yeah, I guess maybe that comes out of being in a team context and wanting to call out around exactly where you were splatted so you can get more specific information than you could see on the map. But yeah, I don't see why you would need to in a solo match.
It just looks like they're used to dying and they do that a lot.
That's what he should have done with the machine. Just throw a bomb there.
Yeah, I also don't. I just don't agree with dropping down there, especially like just in front of a Rainmaker like this.
Yeah, that's risky. If he dies
like-
there, that's a huge push for them.
Yeah,
They can have
you
the
just
same amount of pressure from up top. They just have to throw bombs at the bridge there. There's
Yeah.
no reason for them to actually use their main weapon to stop the Rainmaker.
and if they wanted to drop, they should have just dropped to the right side where they have like plenty of cover to use. But still, even just dropping, I don't think it's a good idea there.
That was a pretty good disengage.
Yeah.
Rush is definitely going to win that if he took that.
I'm also noticing that they literally never take a time. Like they don't literally take a second to just stop and like at the surroundings to like inspect what's going on around the map. They're just constantly moving, trying to do something when it's not always necessary.
Yeah, like a pattern I've kind of noticed here is like keep like rushing forward into enemy like turf, and then they're noticing that they are getting attacked by everyone, so they have to back out. They're kind of constantly doing that, so they're not like getting turf control from it. They're just kind of, I don't know, putting themselves at risk for no reason.
Yeah, this is forcing them to like analyze the situation as they're dying. You know?
I do agree with them like coming to the right side here to help their teammate. Even though I don't agree with like bringing the Rainmaker to like this path, I think it's in general a really good idea to like follow up with your team because you're more likely to like be more productive with like teammates near you than you are like not having anybody there, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes just going for like the long-winded flank is not worth it because you leave your team in a 4v3 for too long, and then you're out of position if they all die.
You mentioned you don't agree with the Rainmaker coming over here. Is there somewhere you would have liked them to go, or would you have preferred they stay back more? Or
I prefer they just like slow their pace down, right? First of all, because you want map control in mid, which they barely have in my opinion, and then you want to start shifting it to the left. And as you shift it, like with that map control that you're getting your specials, and so you're able to like slowly whittle away that like point difference, and it's a lot easier.
On this map specifically, going on the right side to push, there you basically have to push through one of two choke points, which is not like ideal. And both choke points don't really get you that many points unless you get a wipe and then you can push past the enemy. And if you die on the right there, like the Rainmaker is right now, it leaves the enemy closer to where they need to be to have a good solid push, which would be on the left side for them.
And
just
the
say, I'd just say as a general point that the Tentatek should be flanking way more. They're always playing in front of with their team. They're against an Expo, which is going to outrange it in 3 bad matchups. They're taking way too many head-on fights rather than trying to get an angle to actually poke something. I'd more be playing this to try to like flank and pick off the Expo more often. But going through mid on this long-range map against 3 weapons that are going to destroy Tentatek in a fight and one that's going to keep its distance isn't going to work out.
Yeah, agreed. I think that plays more into like knowing what to target in a match. You know, like sometimes you know there's a player that's very troublesome or like a weapon that's very troublesome for your team, and you need to like be able to make the decision to like know when to target and who to target and how to target. You know.
And just for clarification, we're talking about 3 weapons that destroy the K shot in a 1v1. Could you clarify which ones you mean there?
The Octobrush, the Machine, and the Clash.
Thank you.
Oh, just one more note here. On this right side, the high ground is a lot harder to like affect. So it's easier on the left side because the high ground is like close enough where you can affect it or put a lot more pressure on it. But in this case, the high ground isn't super easy to like get to or affect from this position. So it also plays into a disadvantage of like just fighting against high ground that you can't do anything about.
Another side note here, just because you guys they have a tent on their team, so whoever's grabbing the Rainmaker really needs to play around the tent if they're going to have a successful push. Obviously that wasn't a successful push, but I'd like to see that in the future push that they have. Otherwise the tent's going to be kind of useless to them.
I don't agree with like going all the way back to your team there. You're already in a position to like catch whoever comes out of spawn next, and whoever just drops out from snipe or whatever. But like you're already in a position that's really good for your team, and you're giving it up to like go help them in a fight that they probably don't need help in. And then you're kind of stuck back in like square one where you're all on right side and no one's on the left helping out, like pincer or anything.
I'm not too sure I agree with that note.
Oh,
I mean, they're losing the team fight. The Rainmaker is about to reset. One person is dead, and the range is about to die. And the range is also in the same spot as you on that left anyway. No, you already got the pick on the Clash on left. So you can just bomb and pressure the right side. Like, pin the people who are there.
Yeah, I think he should have... I think he should have done that, but he should have just waited.
If he just plays sharking under, then it's just not gonna like... I don't see what staying like under snipe is affecting because everyone else is already fighting on the other side of the map, and they already got like picks because they're taking that team fight.
I think if you like stay close to snipe though, like you don't have to like necessarily shark, but like I think staying close enough that you can effectively go over there, you know?
If he did something like throw bombs right side from there, then that's fine. But it's like you should be trying to help the right side because that's where like over half the players on the map are.
Yeah, I saw there was they over committed to right side. They kind of just rushed in without looking at what's in front of them. I don't know if they're trying to rush whoever's in the corner there, but it didn't. They didn't take into account that the other people were there as well.
It almost seems to me like they're deciding, should I pick up the Rainmaker and just try and push a little more? Keep this from resetting? That might be the thought process, because he gets awfully close to it up until the point where the brush jumps out at him.
That was another one of those moments where right before that, when he killed the Clash, it was because he paused and he analyzed the situation and then he acted. But right after he does this, he does the exact opposite of it and he just rushes in. Like, I think here he should have paused and analyzed a little bit more.
Yeah, I agree. And like you're close enough to like deal with whoever's coming off the spawn, who was the exposure in this case, who was likely to go to snipe, you know? If they had like taken that time to pause, they may have seen that and like perhaps changed what they did, but like it's just about taking a little extra time to like just analyze the situation, you know.
When you watch a lot of like top shooters play, they have a lot of pauses where they analyze things. Because you want to take the best fights possible. You don't want to take like 50-50
If things
chances
are
all the
looking
time.
really bad on the right side, they could have just backed through like the mid bridge
Yeah.
and get to a better position to defend in middle. Which things were looking pretty bad when they started that engagement.
There we go.
Okay.
That's why weapons like brushes are kind of menaces at like low rank XP fights. Because they always win those like 50-50 chances.
Yeah, with brushes you really want to keep your distance, otherwise you're gonna get punished for it. If you do keep your distance, there's not really much the brush can do against you.
Yeah, the tent picked up the Rainmaker here, and so like they don't have the tent themselves to like really help with this push, especially if they're trying to take it right here. I think at this point, a lot of desperation starts setting in for players where like they see that they're down, it's under a minute now, and like in their head is probably like, okay, we need to do something. Like I need to like just do something, right?
They can walk across the middle bridge and they have lead.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Desperation's here. They still have a minute. Like there's, if they play smart, they can easily get lead here.
As long as they don't panic and just like think about the situation properly, then the solution should come pretty obviously here.
This play is really good. Move the X-Ball out of the way, take a kill, take top right. Just basically got a ton of map and move 2 people out of the fight.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I really don't like when people push the far right on this map.
Yeah, that's so little
Me
points.
neither. Yeah,
That's just 60.
Yeah.
That's still
they spend so many resources to get a 1-point lead.
that's still
like-
just past the bridge and you lose that lead.
Yeah, exactly.
And you work so hard for it.
The enemy team's making similar mistake here. Yeah. And you can see how the enemy team there got desperate as well. They're like, oh crap, like we lost the lead.
Solo queue where someone will pick up their Rainmaker and then just rush ahead of their teammates to try to get lead. You definitely want to allow people to get in front of you when you're carrying Rainmaker. Like if you're in front with Rainmaker, you're a free target and the game's gonna end.
Yeah, that almost always never ends well. That try also took a smart fight at the end. Even though it was basically a 1v3, nobody was looking at him, so...
Yeah, and Try is really good at just cleaning up kills from off angles.
It's another thing to like note. It's like when you're trying to analyze what's happening in a situation, if people are shooting their weapons in a direction that's not towards you, they probably aren't aware that you're there. So that's like an easy option for you to kind of flank around them and get a free pick. Like the Try did there.
Yeah, just be careful not to like make that like a super like obvious habit, because better players will use that as a bait. Like they won't shoot in your direction, but they still know you're there and they're just kind of waiting for you to make a move first. So a lot of times, whoever makes the first mistake is the person who loses. So
yeah, keep in mind they probably have sound on so they can hear you if they're aware.
All right. Get into the second game here. I think this is the same player, and then we'll be moving on to a different player on the next video. All right, here we go.
can you rewind it real quick just to begin the match? Just want to see if they like open up their map to look at the enemy teams here at all.
Nope.
Nope. Okay. Yeah, that's one thing you should definitely do. Just take a mental note of like what other players are wearing on the enemy team and what your team has. It'll give you like crucial information and like help you plan out what you want to do at the beginning and just throughout the match.
Can be really useful in Rainmaker too. You're just checking for like bombs and if they have object shredder and things, just so you can know if you guys have a good chance of getting pop or not.
Exactly. In this case, you're only running 2 bombs with your team, so it's probably not ideal. and they have pretty good weapons. Well, not pretty good weapons, but they have a better chance of popping it. So. Yeah, just like all this jitter is just like not necessary. They really should be like painting more and just like taking their time.
One thing
Like there's.
I
Go ahead.
comment on their way they're moving around. Their camera is moving quite a lot. I'm really a big fan of like kind of keeping your crosshair where it needs to be aimed. They're kind of just moving it around a lot. It makes it really hard. If someone was going to sneak up to you, you kind of have to do like a flick thing onto them. If you can flick, that's great. But like if your crosshair is already there, you don't have to do that. And their crosshairs just all over the place, which means they basically have to flick in any engagement that is coming towards them. And I don't really care for that.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like you just make your consistency on your shots just like go way higher than they would be if you're like hard aiming instead of like flicking. So like a lot of times you want to set up your crosshair to like where again like they said you want to shoot. It's just it'll help you keep your aim steady, and you can just walk up. You can literally walk up to somebody and like shoot them like without moving your camera at all if you like do it properly. So it just lets you be way more consistent.
It also lets you be more aware of what's in front of you too. So.
True. So this is not a fight I would have taken.
Yeah, me either. Not all usually wins those.
Yeah, the Not would have like deleted them in like a second if they had like taken their time to aim there too and just backed up as they like shot. I probably, if I did take that fight, I probably would have just sharked around the corner and waited for them not to get in my range, and then just shot them immediately as soon as they came around the corner.
This was a good jet though.
That was a good jet, yeah.
Very good.
It was in a safe location and allowed the Rainmaker to keep pushing because they had to be. The enemy team had to react to the Rainmaker.
That's a common mistake I see. That's a common mistake I see people do there, where like both players go for like the Rainmaker because it's so close. Me personally, I prefer to like go to where I know players will defend from and start pre-firing there, because a lot of times you'll catch someone out like trying to stop whoever's trying to do exactly what they try to do, which is like pick up the Rainmaker and slam dunk it.
Same thing kind of applies to like a Clan Blitz push. In solo queue, I typically see like all of the players with clams go towards the basket and score at the same time. Sometimes it works out, but other times people just drop on the people scoring and get free picks. You definitely need someone to be defending during your pushes. And typically the people in solo queue are going to be trying to score points. So like ideally you're going to be wanting to do the defending for your push.
Yeah. So like specifically here, I see that there's one player on the opposite side, so like they're not a huge threat, but the person that has a line of sight angle who's like top right now does, and so like I would start pre-firing up there first to make sure that the Rainmaker can get up the pedestal safely here.
Also, the game should be over at this point, looking at like specials that each team has.
Yeah. And again, I think they just didn't analyze what's happening right now around the map, so they're kind of like stuck out of position and sort of in a fight here. But like, I don't know why the other person didn't push them when they had the opportunity to, especially since they have more range than them. But
yeah, that was a big misplay by the other person.
Yeah. See here, like this, right? That was like a way better situation of taking a better fight there. They took their time, let them come to them, and then try to keep their aim as steady as possible there, but...
I like that they're keeping an eye on the turf on the right. They should have known that that was already there, but it's a good thing to be aware of.
Yeah. I don't agree with the bomb there. I think they could have just like used their main weapon there to like secure the kill, and then that would also save them a ton of ink if they needed to continue to fight there.
I think the reaction was to the inkjet jump, but they should have known that it wasn't going to go inkjet.
I mean, I think
Yeah.
the bomb was fine. It doesn't use that much ink on Tentatek. He didn't run out at all, even though he used it and fought for a while. It's just
Yeah.
a good safety, because when he was dropping down, you probably can't tell exactly when the jump is landing or the jet is landing. So it's just nice safety.
I think if they'd done it with better timing, I would have preferred it. But I guess I'm speaking from a place of like confidence in my aim. So like I'm pretty confident that I know I could kill there. But I agree with Chara in this case though.
I mean, it's not really like a confidence thing. It's like you don't know exactly what's over there. You don't know when either the two, like, it's possibly just a 1v2, or there could be someone waiting to ambush you, and if you die, the bomb will probably get one of the two jumps.
That is a fair point.
It's like you might as well there, because there's no one else besides those jumps.
I mean, you don't know that, though.
Yeah, the bomb helps with that, though. That's what I'm saying, like, you might as well
Yeah,
just
that's
throw
what
it.
I'm
Yeah.
saying. Like, because he doesn't know if it's just the two jumps or not. The bomb's nice in case he dies, so the bomb will still get one of the two landings, most likely.
Like, there's two up, so he knows where they all are, so, like...
Yeah, I think, yeah.
The bomb's just fine, I think. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think it's a major critique. It's a good jet.
Mm-hmm. Jetting this corner is always strong when you're gonna start pushing.
One thing I like to see with jets is that they hit like their first shot, and you can do that, so that's fine.
Always popping off.
Okay, I like
That's
that they
good,
push up
yeah.
here. They don't waste
great.
time. His
No, I
teammates
don't
waste
like
I don't
time.
agree with
Playmaker.
that. Yeah, that's just wasting time and position you could have had, like keeping them like from gaining positions here to defend.
No, him
The
going back
Tentatek
and
going
grabbing.
back and waving.
They could have just held their position there and shark and
They
wait for
had
people to drop.
teammates next to their Rainmaker, there's no reason for them to move back.
See, now they don't have that position they were just holding and they die.
Yeah.
Okay, right here. Oh, I just want to say they could be doing a lot more turfing. Like the Rainmaker shot the window right there, and they just left the ink there. I think they thought they were sharking, but it wasn't like sharking in a useful spot. There was really no reason for them to be sharking. I think they could be painting more overall. But that was just like an example that I just saw right now.
They just had a lot of pressure on them there.
I felt like they let themselves get into that situation.
Yeah, they did. They did. If you let it get that far, I think jumping out is probably the better solution, and then just jetting from your spawn. They chose to stay behind their Rainmaker there, and like against a blaster and rain and stuff, you're basically putting a timer on your life.
Yeah, they're just not painting enough, in my opinion. at
Yeah.
all.
Like there's only one person up, so you might as well start painting. Here they just
This
push
is-
up way too much without painting.
Typically an issue with like frontliner weapons is they don't think that they need to be painting and they just rush into enemy ink to go get kills.
The painting is so
Right.
important. Like if they painted mid here, they wouldn't have died to the knot like that.
It's not just the support's job to turf the ground.
Yep.
They don't really have a support player then. I guess you could maybe like the Clash. But,
That was another fight that not would normally win.
Yep. I like the disengage there. They didn't super need to push that. And I think just throwing a bomb there makes sense.
I don't want to see them drop into mid here, please.
Yeah,
Either.
you have the jet.
Whipping jet, yeah.
You have Jet, you have bombs. They have to push to like the goal. I think they're aware of that.
Yeah.
Position.
They could still be painting like the right side just to cover that angle, you know? Instead of just letting that area be free for them to like just swim in immediately. Because that would just like cut off an option for like whoever's trying to flank, or if they want to take the Rainmaker to the right.
I like that inkjet. I think they saw that the Rainmaker was kind of alone there, so that was
Yeah.
a free inkjet kill.
And they had-
didn't get the kill,
they-
but
They had
would've.
another teammate pushing up with them too, which makes it even more effective.
So to zoom out a little bit to get to the macro scale here, let's talk for just a second about like patterns that we're seeing in what we're saying, and like, you know, we're talking a lot about, you know, in this individual situation, this and this are the things that I would do, but I want to try and pull out the principles that are behind that, so that you know, in any given situation, they're at least going through the right process and the right thought process, and able to arrive at these kinds of conclusions. So, like, what principles would you say about the game are this player or any player around them really not understanding that is leading them to make mistakes that they've made so far?
I think the two most obvious are patience and painting,
I think
because a lot of their deaths are stemming from them just immediately pushing, like not analyzing a situation, or from pushing somewhere that has no paint, so they can easily get sharked.
I was kind of the same thought. I was gonna go with like map control,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
goes along with turfing. Turfing is a really good opportunity for you both to gain map control and to like develop a strategy that you're gonna want to use in an engagement. Because when you're painting the ground, it gives you time to think. So like that's an opportunity for you to figure out what the game plan's gonna be. Also, just like engagement wise, try to really think about, is my weapon a good matchup against what I am trying to fight currently? And if it's not, try to like develop a plan of how to deal with that. Like earlier in that game, specifically with the Nautilus, so kind of mentioned sharking around a corner and then popping out and shooting it would be a good way to approach an engagement with Nautilus. Instead of giving it the range advantage and the opportunity to just like kill you instantly.
All right, awesome, thank you. We're gonna jump over to a different player now. And
Is that you? Wait a
I like-
minute.
I like
No.
the chest and the earth.
No, I
Suggested
I
videos.
specifically avoided me or anyone from my team because Ham is our coach, and so he's already telling us like pretty much the same things that he would tell in the VOD review. It seems a little redundant. So I went and grabbed a couple of other players that I know. And I mean, I guess that they're not super anonymous because you've been seeing their tag in the in the
I
lead up
couldn't
to the
tell you what
videos.
their
but-
tag was.
All right, perfect. Anonymity maintained.
Oh, it's a junior. Okay. Junior Rainmaker. I know some people don't like Armor Maker.
It's
Thing
fine.
to note is they were definitely looking at the weapon comps, or at least where the enemy was moving towards at
Mhm.
the beginning there.
Yeah, and here they have like position. Oh, I don't like this. I think at least one person should have been looking to the top right area to make sure that that pathway is like clear for the Rainmaker. No one's up
Yeah.
there.
They
to,
were
like,
wiped
harass.
though. No one was
They
there.
were wiped. Yeah.
The intention
but, like,
was good from the whole team, like wiping them immediately.
Yeah, I think that like they all moved up really well, like all together. I just think
Even,
making
like-
sure to keep an eye up there is like super important.
Even like pressing X real quick to get the map open and just make sure there's no ink coming towards that direction.
Yeah,
It's a good idea.
Yeah.
just like
Yeah,
one
it's like
bomb
armor.
up. Just like look up there and then maybe one bomb if you see paint. And that's it.
Armoring the second someone goes down the other team is in general really strong, because it like always leads to wipes like this.
Yeah. It's all about like continuing to apply that pressure. You know, like once you have it, just don't make sure that the opponents can't like breathe for like a second. If you can help it.
They could have just swam back there and avoided dying.
You don't need to go for like a big push when you already have one, so you can always just play slow on Rainmaker pushes. Once you have like literal lead of one, you can just sit behind and wait. If you it wastes time for them, not really a big deal for you if you wait out the clock.
You still definitely want to be pushing, by the way, to keep the Rainmaker on the enemy side, but you definitely want to be wasting as much time as you can so they don't have time to push.
Yeah. So like in that scenario there, like if you're to take your time, I would just use that pillow there to right side peek with the Rainmaker and just kind of like shoot at places that I know people like tend to like defend from, essentially. So I kind of help my team get them out of position, and my team has an easier time just pushing up. And if we get under wipe, then obviously just run it forward, you know.
I hope we end up with some other modes than Rainmaker, because every single one has been Rainmaker so far. But that just happened to be the way that it played out with the matches that they gave me. I didn't really specify anything.
I want to see zones game because people kind of lacking in zones.
Yeah.
Make the mode harder than it needs to be.
I guess if we really want to, I could just pull up a solo zones match for my stream or something, and then you could tell me how bad I am. It'll be great.
I like that they're staying patient here, just kind of like looking at what's happening and then still continuing to be like part of the play. Because a lot of players will like not do anything, but I think they could have been a bit more active there.
A little thing I'd like to see from people that are like, they're all on the right now. I would like him to be opening his map a little bit more, just so you can be aware of if a left side flank is going to come in. Just by the way they're looking, if they're not like aware enough, they're going to die to that, and that could potentially lead to a wipe if someone pulled off a successful flank there. So just like keeping your map open occasionally to keep awareness of where turf is coming from. It's useful.
Information's key.
You're saying that because the whole team is on the right, or are you saying that you would be less worried about that if they had a teammate on the left?
For sure, yeah.
I think it's
still,
better.
Still good to know.
Junior's main job in neutral fights like this is that you're either painting over people or you're throwing bombs where people are fighting at the opponents, especially since they have a jet landing. This positioning's good, and then because of that, you get closer to your armor, so you can just set this up for a push. You bomb pressure, paint right side, get armor, then armor, grab rain, and push off it. So I think this is good. Like
this is really good.
I'm just saying, be aware of.
You can check map. You can check map, but you're playing the right side. Like I think where you are and what you're doing is fine. Just check map a bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with Chara.
Mm-hmm.
And then even more so because there wasn't a teammate who did go left right here, and then as soon as that person went left, the junior dropped to the right side to.
It's just like especially since you have an inkjet, so like any form of bomb hit will make the inkjet easy two-shot like most of the time. So it's just really good to help with inkjets especially.
Yep.
Always armor before grabbing rain. You do that, but just good enough for junior. Like if you're gonna grab rainmaker before push, you always armor. I'd still just be playing this slow rather than trying to force more points because it's just like forcing it, but like realistically you shouldn't have even gone that far. But your job is just to burn time unless if they're like wiped or 3 down. But they were all up. You guys were going down. You just want to stall rain time.
You got a full minute to hold rainmaker, so use that time as much as you can.
Something that I tend to do in my matches a lot is that I'll look for areas to like I know we're talking about macro, but I like to micro as well in scenarios where like if you have a little extra time, like there's no reason for you not to paint like a wall real quick that you may feel like you may need later on. So it'll just be there ready for you if that option ever comes up, you know.
Oh yeah, that's absolutely valid. And to clarify, like macro, by that I mean like things that anyone can learn from, that anyone could benefit from. And like that's a little micro tip, but like that's definitely something that anybody can use and that would be really great. So I'm happy to have those kinds of things. If you're keeping any of that back, don't.
People kind of make fun of like painting walls, but I think it's actually really useful in some situations. You can use walls to like heal. Like if you're getting pressured by bombs and like people are shooting you can heal up on a wall. So keeping walls painted is definitely useful. If you have time, just paint it.
Yeah.
It's not going to hurt you.
Like you're already playing like, passive, so like you're not in a you're not in a fight, so you have the time to like analyze and just paint real quickly. So
Especially if you suction bomb or burst bomb, definitely do that.
yes, thank you. So like here, for example, right there, that left box there, you could have just painted there as you went by, real quickly.
When I load out in this map, I always paint the wall underneath the bridge.
Yes, it's super important.
Mhm.
Not just for yourself, but for your teammates too. Like you're just giving yourself your entire team more options to use.
I like that they're not dropping down to the roof here. Oh, there they do. They're mostly keeping control of ramp, and like that's a good position to be in case they're pushing.
It's a bit too. I feel like you should just be focusing on farming armor more. Like you're going like kind of
Yeah.
aggressive. It's kind of unnecessary because your team's all able to be more aggressive than you. You just want to paint and get armor here. Spam
Especially when
bombs
they're
at the-
crossing the grades there, they could have really easily died.
Like the Zap and especially the Pro Not can all fight. The Pro Not do nothing but fight, so it's not super necessary to fight. I mean, if it's stuff like this, then yes, but like that kill is good for it. But
That was
before
really good
there was
awareness.
more
That wasn't even-
just get armor so your Pro and Not can shred their entire team.
I would honestly not like play this as fast as you're like trying to play it right now. I might like just swim slowly up to like the ledge and try to peek over to see what's in their trench here without giving away that I'm there. And if I see something important, then like I can act off of it. But it's like getting a little bit more information about like maybe there's someone sharking a wall and you don't know. But if you like swim full speed, you'll give away that you're going there with your ripples.
Yeah, when he's saying swim slowly, if you swim at below a certain speed, you can swim without ripples coming out. If anyone doesn't know that, I guess it's really useful for moving forward sneakily. You don't need Ninja Squid.
Somebody comes up to you and says they want to get top 500, without knowing what weapon they play, without knowing about their play style or specific decision making. Like, what is it that you think needs to be going on in their head, mindset wise? What does their plan need to be like in order for them to accomplish that goal?
First thing, just in terms of like game wise, you want to try to maintain your life a lot in solo queue because once you can't affect the match, especially the higher rank you go, is going to be just a lot more situations where things go badly. Mentality wise, if you play and lose multiple games or you play and you see yourself start to tilt, just stop playing. Like, usually if you lose more than 3 games in a row, I think you should just stop playing for a bit and just take a pause. And then if you're just feel tilted or upset, then you just stop. Like, the main thing in terms of grinding solo is just people will do bad because they're not their mentality got ruined by solo being like, quote, terrible. And then they keep playing anyway, and it just drops them like 100 points because the system's brutal. So just try to be aware of like how your mentality is when you play. Like, do I feel tilted? Do I feel good playing? Am I winning? Am I losing a lot? Am I making dumb mistakes? Like, anything that can give you an indication on how you're doing. And if you don't think you're just feeling up to grind solo, then just stop playing for a bit and play again in a few hours.
So would you say that the purpose of taking the break is to check your mentality and like analyze your feelings to understand whether you are tilting or not? Okay.
Yeah.
Take a moment to breathe.
Yeah, everyone plays worse when they're like angry, so it's really important.
Mental game is really important in any sport that you're doing. So that still applies to like Splatoon.
I also think that even if you are like not tilting per se, but you're playing for like a really prolonged period of time, that can affect your gameplay too. Just sometimes we're not aware of our own bodies like wear and tear, and like knowing your limits is important so that you don't like continue playing and like get less inconsistent. I know some players don't particularly suffer from that a lot, especially if you're younger, which is like something that I think a lot of parents should consider more. Is especially if you're younger, like just be aware of your body's limits. You may not
Well,
feel it now, but you'll feel it later.
even small things like lack of sleep, like needing to drink water, being hungry, those things affect your gameplay as well. So like just taking care of your body and yourself in general can help with your gameplay a lot.
I have a whack armchair psychology theory to run by you guys. So my theory here is that one of the most important emotions to manage as a competitor is the feeling of frustration, because frustration is kind of by definition the feeling that what's happening is outside of your control. And I feel that at the level that these players are at the level that I'm at, there is enough that is within our control to impact that it's not really the fault of the ranking system just yet. It's not like you know if I were Kiver in this situation, I could probably carry this. You know, that kind of mentality that up until the point that we are actually top level players, it is within our control. At least enough of it is within our control, and that we shouldn't be starting to feel helpless yet. Does that make any sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to me it does. I think it plays a part in like self improvement. You know, like you should focus less on what you can't control and focus more on what you can, and you'll be more consistent for it because you'll analyze yourself more. And as long as you're not like super critical on yourself, like, oh man, I just suck, but more so like, oh, okay, I did this wrong. How can I avoid doing the same mistake again next match, sort of thing, you know?
Even if like your solo queue comp sucks, there's still things that you could learn how to like work with that comp better. So even if it sucks, that's not really an excuse to use to, or it shouldn't be an excuse of why you lost. You should still use that as a learning opportunity, because in solo queue you're going to come across those, sucky comps all the time. So you want to try to like learn how to work with what you have as best you can in a solo queue situation.
Yeah, and just use it as like something as an experience for you, like as a way to be like, okay, my weapon works pretty well with this weapon, but it doesn't really work well with this weapon. And if you ever go into like a competitive, like an organized competitive team, then you can use that experience to like build better comps, yourself. But in solo queue, it's just more like learning what works well together, what doesn't, what you can do against certain things, what you can't.
Let's also talk about practice regimen a bit here. Like, how often do you guys play? When you play, what is it that you do to get better? What kinds of play are you most likely to seek out and try to do if you're trying to improve? That kind of idea?
First thing would be definitely to practice your aim. When I was new to the game, I was practicing like 30 minutes, like every other day at least, just to get my aim to where I wanted it to be. And now I would, like, if I'm going to get on and play solo queue, I practice probably for 10 minutes just to warm up my aim. It's better to warm up your aim in a low stress situation instead of like going into solo queue and now all of a sudden you're against a top 500 player and you have to, have actual good aim and be like on point. So that's definitely something I would recommend doing. If you're looking for the best experience to actually like improve, it's probably in a competitive situation or like league with your friends where you're able to control the factors that are coming in, like weapons and skill that everyone is offering. That's definitely the best way that you can improve skill wise. Solo queue can be a little bit rough on that. It gives you a lot of different variety in skill and weapons.
It's something that's different for everyone. Like when I play solo, I don't warm up at all. I just go in. But sometimes I feel like I have to warm up, so I do. It depends on the person, So you kind of have to find your own way with that.
Yeah, I don't think I probably have to warm up, but I personally feel like I get better outcomes when I do warm up, especially in the first like game or two.
I'd say just do a few minutes in the training ground. Like, regardless of how it seems, like it's the same reason like soccer players will do stretches before they start kicking the football, before they start kicking the soccer ball. It's like the same thing you do. You warm up your aim before you jump into a game. It'll be better for consistency in the end of the day.
A lot of players aren't going to be doing this, but like Chara mentioned, stretches, hand stretches and wrist stretches are actually like really important.
Yes, that I do.
Please do that. I
Yeah.
cannot even play. I can't even play for a certain amount of time because of my wrist. Like I can't play too long because it'll start to hurt. Do wrist stretches. Like
if you don't know any, YouTube it.
Yeah, and I'll definitely put a link in the description here because I know of some people who do ergonomics stuff for Smash players, and they have a bunch of videos on this kind of thing to just keep your hands healthy.
My team basically disbanded because we had poor wrist health.
I literally cannot play burst weapons for more than like a couple matches because my trigger finger is so messed up at this point that it just hurts so much, and I regret it so much for not taking better care of my hands. Because like I honestly think L3 is pretty good in situations, and H3 was pretty good as well, and I wanted to play those more, but I just can't. Or Brush, honestly, as well.
Don't you talk about Brush?
No, but I do think Brush is pretty strong. I would play it more if I could, but I don't have the finger for it now.
All right. Anything else that you wouldn't be able to see in a VOD review that you think we should be keeping in mind?
I know lag tends to tilt a lot of people. That's one of those things that, like, if you're playing Splatoon, you just have to accept it. It's a thing that comes with time, I guess. But I know that tilts a lot of newer players and lower ranked players, like feeling like they died of latency and things like that.
You can be annoyed by it and aware of it, but don't let it tilt you.
Yeah,
because it's Splatoon. They don't have servers. It's gonna happen like frequently, very frequently.
Yeah, getting mad at it isn't gonna go away. Isn't gonna make it go away.
It's not even lag. It's just like the way the servers work. The game doesn't update fast enough, so like you'll see someone fall off a ledge, but then they didn't actually. So the game
16 tick rate, by the way.
Yeah.
Something that did come to mind is like I see a lot of players who feel like they aren't making progress or like keep making the same mistakes, and they think it's just the weapon that's causing that. And sometimes that's like the wrong mentality to go into. It's like it's not always about like the weapon. Sure, you can change your weapon and maybe it'll help you be more consistent or do something else better, but like a lot of the time it'll come down to like how you're playing the game itself rather than what weapon you're playing.
If it is the weapon, I'd say analyze what is actually happening that is causing your weapon to, lose games or lose those situations. Like in our review of the VODs, we brought up like weapon matchups. That'd be like a thing that you'd want to look at if you're starting to complain about your weapon. Maybe start thinking about your interactions that you're having in game, and like try to, use the advantages that your weapon has and like avoid any disadvantages that it has as well.
Do you guys know of any good resources where people kind of go over weapon matchups? Like maybe just an individual weapon matchup here and there. Like, is there any content creators you know about? Are there people who like put out weapon matchup charts?
Prior does some roller matchup charts, but I don't know anyone who does general, like a bunch of them. So nah, I don't think.
I don't say general.
Let's get
in general. No, there isn't. I don't think
just ask people.
FLC doesn't really care much about matchup charts. Like, it's not really focus what he's doing.
It's more of like a general.
Talk about it, but like, yeah. I think he talks about it if he sees it in a review, but
that's one of those places that it feels like right now. It's something that people are learning by trial and error. That like you guys have this intuitive understanding of it, or you've talked to a bunch of other players who play those weapons and gotten their insight onto it. But that might be something that a newer player, I mean, newer relatively speaking, someone who just made it into X rank or something, that they're going to have a bunch of ideas about, and maybe those ideas are founded in some sort of reasoning, but definitely not going to have the same foregone conclusions I think that you guys will have going into it. So it would be
In
something
general-
I'd be interested in looking into more.
In general, you're gonna want to be thinking about mobility, range, and damage output that a weapon does, and like chip damage for like blasters and stuff. But just I don't know, take those things into consideration. To me, it's like obvious, but I guess it might not be to newer players or lower level players.
And I think a part of it is that they're not seeing the weapons being played at their peak potential. They might be seeing, you know, Billy the rando running around with his brush down the whole time, never actually stopping to fight anybody and just splash downing whenever he feels like he's in danger, you know? Like, if that's the only experience you've had with a brush, you'd think brushes are terrible. Then all of a sudden you run into an X-rank brush player and you're like, wait, what the bleep is happening right now? So that's something that I think might also play something of a role in people's lack of an intuitive understanding of this, just that they haven't seen the weapons played at that strong of a level until they, you know, actually get there. But I think we've talked through those pretty thoroughly at this point. So I'm going to jump over to the other video of our junior player now.
I just have one last thing to add.
Absolutely.
Section. And that's just to feel free to ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask people questions if you have more specific things you want to know or anything. A lot of players kind of help with that.
Yeah, one more thing that people can be doing, if they're, you know, a little bit lower level, is to gravitate towards people that are higher level. A lot of people will be willing to answer questions if you like reach out to them. Otherwise, like, you know, look up like Twitch streamers or YouTube streamers or whatever that are playing the weapons that you're currently playing and see how they're playing the weapon. That's an easy way to learn from like a visuals perspective of how you should be playing your weapon. So that's like something people could be doing to practice outside of actually playing the game.
Case in point, I've never worked with half of the players that are in this call right now, and I just messaged them on Twitter, and here they are. So I think that's as much evidence that you all need that top-level players are definitely willing to help out when you ask for it. So let's hop into the junior match now. And I don't think there's sound on this, because I've got it turned on, and it's not coming through here. So might have lost it at some point in the recording process, but you can still have a look. So it's looking like the same rotation.
Alright, so this time he didn't open his map to check like information they could have been getting.
Good job getting out of pop there once he realized he was screwed.
Yeah.
I like to see him rotating more towards ramp here, just to get in a more defensive position.
This is why I say to prioritize armor. Like, this fight works out, but you don't have your armor until 20 seconds in. That's like really, really late.
He almost definitely would have died if his teammate didn't be out there. So.
Also, Rainmaker grab's kind of rushed. Make sure you get map before you grab and push it. It's better to just paint in front first and then grab rain, especially since you're a junior. So you can get map fast.
They pop armor too, which would have helped with like taking map control for sure. Though.
When Rainmaker is on your side of the map, you get special points for when it is still there. So like leaving the Rainmaker there isn't like a horrible thing to do. I don't know if people are aware of that, but
not many people are.
Yeah, as long as you keep an eye on it.
Most people just know if the other team has rain, you get special charge points. That's about it.
Good job taking a little extra time there to like make sure your shot's going exactly where you wanted it to.
Like, here's where I say to play slow on pushes, because you can stall rain here really well, and if you run in, you're basically dead.
They should have trusted their teammate there to come back to help them, because they were already doing so there. And they could have 2v1 and then killed them, and then probably killed a machine here there next.
Also, the 4 main special saver machine.
They could have put the 10.
I didn't even know.
Literally, that's enough to get Ray, like, almost the second you respawn. You have Ray already?
Oh, a thing I don't think a lot of solo queue players know, if you have the rain and someone's raying you, try to stay in ink, because they can't see the Rainmaker symbol on their screen when you do that. Like, you just always stay under the ink. It's harder for them to aim. Because a lot of times people try to jump around with the rain, but it's an easy kill for Stingray.
Are you running double bomb junior set?
Looks like they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's okay.
I'm not a
Well,
fan of Double Bomb Junior. I prefer
It's
LDE.
solos, I think it's fine, but I generally prioritize charge up, and if you want double bomb, then last stitch, because then you get double bomb with only a main of your gear versus like 2.5.
This
I
is
mean,
what I
two
mean.
2.5
If he
mains.
stayed swimming in the ink instead of hopping out like that, he would have definitely lived that Stingray. But every time he hops out, the Stingray can see the Rainmaker symbol and can aim better.
I feel like the West has this mentality that Double Bomb Junior is like the only junior that can be played.
The
I
bad
think
thing
it's-
about double bomb is just you throw 2 bombs, you have to wait to recover ink. It just reduces your paint up time. Like part of what's good about junior is you can throw a bomb and still paint for like 15 seconds, so it doesn't minimize your armor output compared to like Zap poking suctions until it gets last stitch, which is why last stitch is good. So I'd say just throw 1 bomb and paint more than throw 2 bombs.
And if you needed to, anyways, you could just like wait an extra second or two to get enough ink to throw a second bomb without like having to build for second bomb.
And then if you
'Cause
have
the-
last stitch, like your recovery time is just reduced to a ton when you have last stitch, so it doesn't matter as much in the first place.
Yeah, when I was playing
I think
Junior, I never ran Double Bomb. I didn't see the point of it. So. I don't think I ever lost to like a Double Bomb Junior.
The only time I think it's fine is if you're like really playing to remove armor with bomb and you have object shredder double bomb and you're just throwing 2 bombs 2 different places to remove like 3 armors in a fight, but even then that's kind of very linear. I don't think it's amazing. I think just at that point you run LDOS to get that.
I think a lot of players also use it for like Rainmaker pop, where like you want to accumulate the damage with bombs at the same time.
I'd just rather have object shredder. Bomb
Oh, they could have armored there.
last way longer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
They,
they
armor
could've.
forever. Here's like the stalling that you should do when you're on that top right spot, like playing slow here, trying to get help because you can't just run forward. Unfortunately, I don't think it'll work out
Yeah,
here.
they're dead here when the
Yeah.
machine came.
It's like even then, like your team's 3 down, you still stalled like an extra 7 seconds before you got killed. Like
Yeah.
that's still really nice because you have lead.
I really like the stall and then where they position Rainmaker too. Like they didn't try to run it to the left where it's easier for them to like start making a push too. But also
think-
their teammates like jumped in and like that spot and got like 3 of them killed. So
I think the
Also,
main thing pattern-wise here is just armor needs to be prioritized more. There's way too much emphasis on bombing people to where there's not as much pain and armor spam happening as Junior's capable of.
I think
I'd
the
like to
bombs
just
are
see more.
fine. They could just be using their main weapon a little bit more to like paint around them.
It's just
get
too much
those
throwing
sessions.
2 bombs where I want to see throw a bomb and paint. Like, look at the right side of the map. It's entirely green. There is no map control over there. The junior can just be focused on turfing that right now. Like, still, there's a bunch of bomb throwing. Here, you just want to get armor for defense. Like, if I'm junior right now, I'm painting everything on the map to get armor rather than trying to poke bombs.
I don't agree with
absolutely-
painting on the right side, really, but I think they should be getting armor, but I wouldn't drop right in this situation to get armor.
Oh, I'm not saying drop right. I'm saying,
Okay.
like, just paint for armor here.
Can-
Like,
Like
even
they-
just paint over trench, go left, paint left. Like, if you
Yeah.
want to back up a good bit, like, back up 5 left presses.
can you rewind a little bit? Like
Yeah,
yeah,
like
there.
right here, I'm not saying drop red and paint. I'm saying like, okay, there's barely any time. I'm gonna paint everywhere safe as possible. Like even just the places near here, like just the right side of your drop, go back to spawn. Just get armor, then get behind so you're ready to defend. 'Cause the other bad part about this is now you're stuck and you can't back up, which means you have to go across here on the grates, and it just makes you a really easy target. See, if you
Yeah, one
like
of the-
backed out, you would have had armor and you would have been in a better position to defend.
One of the great things about Junior is that it can, get armor by painting, just for like basically a few seconds. If you have enough turf around you, you can get armor.
That's
In a
also just why I
Rainmaker match-
recommend. I just recommend
Special
charge.
Yeah, I
Like
agree.
you can see, this game was only 4 armors, and I could tell that there was like only a few armors used, like even without seeing the special count of around 3 minutes through, because there's just way too little painting happening by comparison. So Junior, I'd stay away from the double bomb because I think it just keeps away too much of doing what Junior's good at. Focus on throwing a bomb and then painting, and prioritize having your armor more and then engaging with the armor. So I think just prioritizing more armor output is going to be a lot better for you.
I'd also like to see a little bit more. I call it like poking. Junior isn't really an aggressive weapon, but it can apply pressure by like kind of poking the enemy, but you want to disengage very quickly if you're not gonna like get a kill. But you can like at least pressure the enemy. You get a lot of turf by doing that. So like kind of poke in and out. I think another term for it would be spearing, kind of like Roman warfare.
I have to go in like a few minutes, but it's next match is starting, so I think I'll dip here. Yeah, I'm ProChara. Thank you to Gem for inviting me on here. You can find my YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch just under ProChara. If you search it up, I make a good amount of Splatoon content, including guides, discussion, and top-level gameplay. So just feel free to check me out if you want to take a look at more top-level Splatoon. I know this is random. The reason I have to go early is the toilet broke. Like, literally.
That's
So I have
solid.
to help out with that stuff. Genuinely. It broke. We can't do anything. We can't shower. Nothing. So, yeah, today's been a roller coaster, but yeah,
Wow.
sorry.
I-
Bye.
Hope your day gets better. See ya.
Good luck, dude.
Thank you.
Wow, that's actually a disaster. Oh my god.
Oh, no way.
That's so unfortunate.
Can I just say, Shy is like really, really annoying with Charger. Like honestly, every time I have to play Shy, it's just cringe.
Oh my god.
It's freaking cringe, dude. It's so annoying.
All right. So there is one top 500 player in here, and we might get a chance to see, you know, relative to the rest of the field, what that looks like, which might be a good analysis to do. It's the Nautilus on the other team.
Of course it is.
Okay, yeah. That's a pretty rough one for Chargers.
Just hit your shot.
Yeah, that's always an easy shot. You might as well. If you have mid, you always go for that. Ooh.
Yeah, no.
I'm loving the consistency so far, but
Yeah.
I don't know if they need to like as much.
I'd just like to point out how you were like, I'm loving the consistency so far, and only then did he miss a shot.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a hard angle. I think.
Yeah.
I wouldn't try to kill an Octobrush with no tank charge like that, because they can move around so much in the time it takes you to fully charge. You might as well just start healing or recovering it, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, see, like he was wasted so much time trying to get like a crazy shot. But Charger especially, it's really obvious when you are not looking at someone. So a
Also
weapon
think-
like a knock can punish you really bad.
Shy, correct me if I'm wrong, but I also think it's not necessarily like to full charge every shot. You should like be mindful that you can just do quick tap shots.
Yeah.
to-
If you
someone
see
else.
someone take an inkjet shot or something, you only have to charge like 3/4 and you can kill them. So just be mindful of that. A lot of newer players only tap shot and only fully charge. Firing somewhere in the middle works too.
That was very smart. Like, well, not really smart because the position was like not the best, but like the bomb placement there because they knew they were gonna die was good. It's like the reason that person died there was because like right before, like when they jumped over, they placed a bomb really quickly on their feet, like right here, right there.
Well, I'm not sure why they jumped here though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like the position, I don't agree with. But
Yeah, because they could have shot at the inkjet and the rainmaker from where they were.
That might have just been where the inkjet would have been if they stayed still.
Yeah.
Oh, Shy, if you can answer this for people.
Sure.
What's better for Chargers, to tap shot the Rainmaker or full charge Rainmaker? For those who don't know.
I actually don't know. Yeah, that's good. Just gotta pick and grab it. Oh, I should have looked up there.
I probably would have instinctively taken it where I would have cover. So just like to the
Yeah.
left of that ramp there.
Yep.
It was risky to Ray there to begin with, because if you don't get a pick, you just waste the whole special and then you grab it late.
I didn't
like
really
it.
care for that Ray because there wasn't really anyone to follow up on it, but he picked
It-
up
it worked.
Rainmaker.
It only worked out because he killed one, but the chances of that happening were really low, so I wouldn't have done that either. When you position here, you have to be really mindful of close. Yeah, like that. It would have helped if he looked at his map as he took that square. So you can, if you see a little paint moving close, you know someone's there.
One of the things I like about this compared to like the first person we were reviewing is that they are always keeping their camera like facing forward, they're gaining information even when they're moving backwards.
Yeah, the camera's really useful. That was a good call.
I do like the micro of just like pushing up just little by little and not like super
Yeah.
committing to everything.
I think he
Yeah,
should have looked at top right there though, because he definitely saw a bullet come down from there. It would have been much less risky for him to look at top right than to go to the top of the ramp and look down.
Ooh,
Just a
go
little
ahead.
thing. I think a lot of like lower level players aren't quite as aware of like movement that is happening on their screen. Like me, I
Yeah,
can see
that's
like
fair.
a single drop of ink that is coming in like the corner of my screen. I've noticed that a lot of like mid-level players don't really seem to notice that stuff, or they don't react to it. And I don't really know how to like teach people that, but like try to have like a wide view. Don't try to like tunnel vision, I guess is what you might call it.
Yeah, yeah.
Be aware of everything that is happening on your screen. There's a lot
How
of things
far
that
back
people
do I need to go to see this example of the like little drop of ink in the corner of their screen?
Wait, try playing from here. I think, is it here?
It was close to here, I
I mean,
think.
there's ink right there's blaster shot there.
It may have been a
No,
little
a
before
bit further
that.
back,
Right.
a little further back.
Yeah.
Was it the
Around here.
when they got ambushed by the Nautilus earlier when they picked it up?
Well,
I
they're
think
not
it's
doing a
slightly
good
after
job
this.
of.
Yeah,
not
it's slightly
doing a
after
good
this.
job
Okay.
of- So like there,
Yeah,
right
see,
there.
there's a shot on the top
Oh,
right
that-
there.
Okay, so the little
There's
clash
There's a little
blaster
clash
shot.
there.
Yeah, and you can
Yeah.
tell what weapon it is by like the type of paint it comes out. Like you saw like a little explosion, so you can
Mhm.
tell that was the clash up there.
Yeah, it's
And
got to
there
be
are
the
two
blaster,
people
and it's at that range, so it's the clash.
Yeah. As soon as you notice that, you should probably sit back a little bit and just try to shoot it instead of taking the top of that ramp there, because that leaves like 2 or 3 players looking at you, being able to possibly kill you.
Gotcha.
You want
Also-
to take the easiest shots possible with Charger, basically.
Also here, like when they like shoot at the person on right, when they pick up the Rainmaker here, the person was in the air, like right here, when they jumped. If they taken a little bit more time to like just aim at their feet where they're landing, it's a lot easier, a more secure kill with the Rainmaker.
That was a good push, though.
Yeah, that is usually a push that wins matches because like
Yeah.
getting that choke point on top of the ramp is like super hard.
Did a good job of like picking up Rainmaker as soon as they saw that the 2 people went down, and they were like really on top of that. That's kind of what you want to see. You don't want to like any time that you're waiting is points lost.
Good jump. Always run quick super jump. At least a sub. On any long range weapon. There's no reason not to.
I'd say any weapon. To be honest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
any weapon too.
Honestly.
But it's especially important on long range though. You don't reach to see other people.
I think the priority there should have been to stay on the Rainmaker
Yeah, yeah.
because you just stall the push a lot longer if you get the Rainmaker down.
That was
'Cause
the decision making wasn't confident there. Like he switched through like 3 people to possibly shoot at.
I'm not really sure how quick. I don't like picking up Rainmaker there.
Yeah, me either.
I'm not sure how quick charges special. I'm in that last situation. I might have focused on getting Stingray just so you can like end the push. I don't know. How
The
close.
splatter scope is pretty slow, Ray.
Okay. I'm wrong on that one. It would be nice if I did.
He didn't have to flick for that shot. He did a little flick there to try to kill him.
Yeah, and that's something.
Sometimes
I
you just gotta.
love.
Sometimes you just gotta breathe and point.
Hard aim. Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. Getting a jump out is basically getting a kill. A very scoped kill.
This can be a really hard win for them. I'm probably
Yeah.
not gonna get it,
Do you agree with this right here? Or would you
No.
save it for like a bit, like when you're pushing up further in?
They're already one. The enemy team's already one down, and he had another player armor.
A little thing here, the Rainmakers should be aware that if a charger is shooting over top of them, they should be aware that someone.
Yeah, they should look there. Mm-hmm.
I noticed this a lot with like Rainmaker carriers, is they aren't like aware of where they're.
Yeah, they're just
positioned.
constantly thinking I have to push up.
With Stingray, they kind of solo I call it solo Stingray, but like Stingray right now, the way they nerfed it is kind of more of a team special now. You want to be Stingraying in spots where your teammates can either assist your kill or give you the assist on the kill.
Yeah, like
Instead of
wherever
trying to
there's
get
a
picked with it.
like you have a knot on your team here. Whenever they're jetting, you can ray wherever they're firing, and that'll help make their job a lot easier. Stuff like that.
Also, maybe focus on where the Tetris is. They're going to be engaging a lot.
Yeah, that too.
I have a pet theory about why they might have gone for that particular ray, and it's that the player they were targeting was the top 500 Nautilus. So they're thinking, just get this player out of the equation, and then maybe we have a better chance. Do you think that might have been the thought process? I can only speculate.
Even then, I just
the mobility that the Nautilus would have in that situation, they just have to drop, and then they can move around a little bit. The angle for the Rainmaker or the Stingray there is gonna be really, really hard to get a pick on.
Yeah, and you're raying someone that probably has the entire part of the map that they're at painted in their color, so that's a really, really hard kill to get.
Something that I want to like requote from like Obito, like me to post about like solo queue, is that sometimes you don't want to target like the best player on an enemy team if you know that that player isn't like being effective at that moment, right? Sometimes there's somebody else that's probably more effective at what they're doing currently in the match than the actual best player in the lobby, you know. So like in that scenario, maybe it wasn't best like target them out, but maybe like somebody else with that ray. But even so, like just raying there in general is not the best idea.
Also, in that specific moment in time, you were 1-up, and I think they ended up being 2-up actually, and they had an armor popped on their side as well. So you're effectively dropping all of your game-changing specials right at the start of that push. So you'd have to get another wipe with almost no specials. So using that ray there's, if your Rainmaker didn't die, it would have still been really, really hard to win that game because you used the ray early.
Things at like a mid-level. This is more like comp thing, but like a lot of like mid-level competitive players are big into like using like 3 or 4 specials even at the same time to like start a push. You see it a lot in like zones, for example. They'll use it to gain control of the zone, but then they struggle to hold the zone because they don't have any more specials left for like another 20 seconds plus. I'm like a fan of like chaining specials, so like maybe you pop armor and then like a booyah will come in, and then you use armor after the booyah kind of thing. Like try to like stagger your specials so you keep having a flow of specials coming in instead of using them all at once.
Yeah, especially on a map like Arowana where it's really hard to do anything without specials.
Just to quickly touch up on that armor discussion you have there, it's like if you're an armor player, please pay attention to your teammates, because sometimes your armor literally won't do anything for them. Like if they're already in the booyah and you armor, like they're not really getting a lot of advantage out of that, right? Or like if they're in baller and you armor while they baller, like again, they're not getting anything out of that armor, right? So be mindful when you do use your armors.
All right. That is, I think, all of the footage that I have pulled together for us today. If you could give me like a top 3 or a top 5 points, I think, that you think are the most important takeaways for the players that we've seen and for players in general at this skill level. What is it that you think you would stress that these players work on in order to get to that top 500 level that they're aiming for?
I think the one issue all of the players shared was not valuing paint enough. Like you saw the T-Tech very often just like rushed in without painting, and the Junior preferred to throw bombs instead of painting, and the Charger tried to Stingray weapons that had a lot of paint around them. So in general, like value paint a lot. Like it's the core of this game for a reason. It's really important to manage it well.
Turf war is actually important.
Another thing would be to analyze during gameplay of like what you are trying to accomplish. I'm sure they're like thinking about like I need to like win the game or whatever, but try to like every engagement that you have, you need to be thinking about if you want to get to top 500, and you need to be making the smartest decisions that you can possibly make. So like think about your engagements, think about what you need to be accomplishing. If you need turf, if you need to be, you know, picking off a certain player, or like what engagements need to be happening, or, you know, like, should we be pushing right now? Should I be stalling Rainmaker a little bit, or tower, or whatever it is? Just try to like think about your gameplay, and if something went wrong, you know, after the game, maybe think about what did go wrong and how you can improve upon that.
I'd say for me, the top three things in a very broad sense is number one, mentality. I think if you're just not in the right mindset, you're not gonna like play well or think about these things that we're talking about. So just making sure that you are like just have a really good mindset going into like matches and stuff is super important. So take care of yourself, you know. Uh, Two would be patience. I think just slowing down your pace sometimes is just gives you enough time to analyze the situation better, and will let you make these critical decisions that like we talked about. So you'll see more of what's happening, and you'll like know more, so you can make a more informed decision. And then for me, lastly, it's just consistency. Just like make sure you're doing the same thing, like make sure you're doing the same like good options, and improving on like learning your mistakes and working on those. Just try to stay as consistent as possible. You're not going to win every game, so don't try to. It's just not possible.
So with consistency, like what is something that you would say is an actionable idea out of that? Like what is something? Are you saying
Practice
like
good
keep
habits.
practicing or
So,
practice good habits? Okay.
I say
so for
practice
me,
good
as
habits.
like an N-Zap player, I want to like, in a lot of solo queue games, I could go, you know, full like aggro N-Zap and like win a bunch of fights that I shouldn't be winning. Like the Splattershot was winning a bunch of fights against that Nautilus that shouldn't have been won. Um, those aren't like, you can do those, but those aren't necessarily the things that you want to be doing. So you want to stay consistent and like always playing as smart as you can, and like uh playing the strengths of your weapon. So like painting to get armor if you're like an N-Zap or whatever, and like taking smart engagements, you know, that kind of thing, instead of like, you know, playing based on the skill of the other player. You want to play how you normally would.
So play imagining that the other player is going to make the right choice, basically, or
Yeah.
play well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like you
you
always
gotta,
want to set up the situation to favor you. Like you don't want to fight a knot when the knot looks at you first, for example, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's something that I think I've already had a conversation with Ham about that after doing all of the smurfing that I had to do to complete this series of videos. There were a lot of situations where, you know, looking at them after the fact, it's like I'm only taking that fight because I know that player is B rank. That's definitely not something that I would ever hope to get away with in X rank. So not getting into those kinds of habits, you know, maybe if you play with a bunch of streamers who aren't competitive players, because it makes you feel good, you got to make sure that those habits that you're developing there aren't working into your competitive play.
Yeah, I've caught myself like doing that kind of stuff before. That's kind of like being aware of like your mentality. You need to like analyze what you are doing in game and make sure that what you are doing is good. Maybe you need to be changing things. Like I've had games where it's just super easy, and then I kind of come into this I can just kill everything mentality, and then it'll lead to like a loss in an important game.
yeah.
So
Sometimes you also just need confidence, and by that I don't mean like actually have confidence, but like sometimes players will respect you more, and you'll have more of an advantage if you play like you have confidence, right? It's
yeah,
good if you can develop that
mhm.
confidence, but just showing that you like are willing to move forward and do things, or play a bit riskier and take those risks, like will let players know instinctively not to like take you less seriously or whatever, and that can that can make them make worse decisions in their gameplay throughout the match. But yeah,
I was gonna bring that up too. Like you want to be like kind of a little cocky. Like you don't want to think that you're the best player ever and you can just like, you know, destroy anyone for no reason. But like have confidence in yourself. If you don't have confidence, that can lead to like a little bit of a bad play on your part. You might play like too passively or like whatever. Just be confident in your own gameplay. Do like the best you can. And like once you get to a certain level, you'll have like the confidence and you'll know what you're doing, and it will start to show.
Yeah,
So-
it's a really delicate balance. You want to be confident, but you also want to respect the other players. Like don't assume you're always going to win every fight. Kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Be confident, but still be willing to like learn from your mistakes.
Yeah,
kind of thing,
yeah.
you know?
Exactly.
Don't in Splatoon. You never want to hesitate on like a decision that you are making. It's a very fast-paced game, and any hesitation will either lead to like a death or like in Rainmaker, if you're hesitating on if you should pick up the Rainmaker, you might like literally lose like 10 points from a push just from hesitating for a second or two. So like
Yeah,
be
the more you
confident of
hesitate,
things.
the more chances are your decision will be wrong. Like even the wrong decision, if it's done fast enough, works out. So
Yeah, that's like a thing for comp, like the mid-level, when people are still trying to figure out like shot calling. I might was like, just go with whatever the shot call is, and you guys can learn afterwards, if it didn't work or not, or like if it did work. The important thing is to be able to like work as a team and work off those shot calls.
Yeah. You'll build the experience as you go. You'll learn as you play, and just as long as you make mental notes of those and just continue to improve and remember those points that you made, consistently get better.
Quick thing that I didn't think to ask earlier: how many hours do each of you have in the game? I
oh
would,
no.
maybe if you have some hours in Splatoon 1 too, that like we'll add those in there.
Oh god.
Oh boy, I think I'm running. I don't play as much as I used to, honestly, and I took a lot of breaks in between because this game can really get to you sometimes. But I think I'm about 8K hours in total.
Holy.
I'm at 6.5 hours. 6.5K hours.
Wow, you
Wow, you
got
guys are
this
crazy.
good in 6.5 hours? Oh my god.
I always have the least playtime of all my teammates. I have 1.7 in Splatoon 1 and 2K in Splatoon 2.
Wow.
Dude, you're a prodigy.
That's like another thing. Like your mentality going into the game. You can spend 4,000 hours in the game and still be bad at it because you're not like actively trying to learn how to be good at the game. If you
Yeah,
spend
autopilot's a real thing.
Yeah.
if you spend like 2,000 hours in the game, you can become probably like a top tier player if you put your mind to it.
One of the best players I've played with only had 1,000 hours in this game.
Dang.
Hey man, playtime does not equal
Okay.
skill. Remember that.
Yeah, it really
Splatoon
doesn't.
is very forgiving in like the skill department. You don't really, you have to like know how to aim, but like you don't really have to be like a god at aim in Splatoon. Like other games, you have to hit headshots, right? To be like a god. Splatoon, you just have to aim at the target. You're good.
Yep.
Maybe a bit harder for charter players, but
All right. Well, thank you all so much. That brings us to, oh no, 2 whole minutes over. Oh god. Oh god, what have I done?
No.
Thank you guys so much for being willing to come out and share your experience here. I'm hoping that I can put this together into something that'll really help people at my level, for one thing, but to also give other people kind of an idea of the mindset that goes into trying to become a top player, and what kinds of things that they should be focusing on, and how to analyze the game, basically. Because I think there's so many specifics to this game. There's so much specific knowledge that hundreds of, literally over 100 weapons, and they're all going to work differently, because even if the main weapon is identical, they have different kits. There's just too much complexity to really flowchart everything. But I think what we did showcase pretty well here is the thought process, what you should be interrogating about your play, in order to look at what you're doing and make sure that it's better the next time. So thank you guys for lending your perspective. If there's anything you guys want to shout out, if you have any content creation you want to talk about, or if you just like want people to follow your team Twitter or something, just put that out there right now. We'll go kind of, I guess we'll just go in alphabetical order because that's the way that it is in Discord. So we start with Brock here. Anything you want to shout out?
Oh man, yeah, buy my mixtape on. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh yeah.
And you can follow me and like look at my tweets and stuff on Twitter.com at Yorwie YORWIE. I also am streaming a lot more often on Twitch.com at Brock.com, spell the dot out DOT because Twitch is weird. And honestly, if you're not using Sendo.ink, please do so. There's so many great resources and options there to help you improve and learn the game better, and just like overall, just expand your knowledge. To yeah, check that out. Sendo.ink.
And then Ham.
Check me out at HamRum Gaming at Twitter. I stream occasionally at ham_rum on Twitch. I do have a YouTube at HamRum2. That is mostly used for coaching. I put VODs up there for my coaching.
You can see me play there.
If you are interested in being coached, I could maybe do some one-on-one VOD reviews for you. If anyone's interested, just DM me on Discord if you can find me. HamRum, I'm in Bravous. I'm also on like Ludi. Find me there. Yeah,
and I will vouch for those VOD reviews. I've found those extremely helpful at giving me perspective that I wouldn't have had otherwise on what I need to be fixing about my gameplay. And having those things in mind has been really helpful for me as a competitive player. So, I mean, I guess if you like my tips, then that's me vouching for his tips. And then Shy?
Yeah, I stream scrims. I usually use like all the long range weapons. My Twitch is Shy3K, and my Twitter is the same handle. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, gents. That's going to be it for a recording session. So, have a lovely evening.
I wanted to mention. I wanted to mention like reviewing high level gameplay more, but I didn't when I was gonna talk about that.
You want to talk about it right now because it's still recording?
That's all it is. Well, we already talked about it in the VOD, but like it's reviewing high level gameplay is like a really good opportunity for you to like analyze stuff and like learn how high level players approach the game. So like watching someone can definitely teach you like their approach to like movement or how they're approaching fights or like anything.
Yeah, it's important. Like, oh no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like if you're in Academy, there's a Google Doc, I believe, with like JP and NA top players. I don't know how updated that is, but it gives weapons for each player and like their streaming services that they use that you can go watch. So like anyone that you can find that's higher level than you is useful for you to learn. Because they have the experience, so like that information is free for you to use and learn from them.
Yeah, I definitely think it's important to like analyze and see what top players are doing that you're not, but also don't just imitate what they're doing. Like try to think for yourself, like why are they doing that, right? Not just do it just because they did it, sort of thing.
Junior players, NA.
Yeah, pretty much.
One of the things that I noticed and that carries over into Splatoon a lot is that my hand position on the controller shifts in ways that I'm not consciously processing because I'm focused on the game, and that a lot of the time that'll just cause me to miss an input because my thumb isn't on the same place on the control stick that it was before. So it's something that I learned partway through my competitive career was to like be making a mental note of where is my left thumb on the joystick.
I have that issue. Or like
I'm trying to. Okay, go ahead.
No, I'm just reinstating that. Like I push up on the left thumbstick, and then my finger will slip too high up, and I have to like reset my thumb, and it's just annoying because it wastes time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to actively like work on where I like my neutral position for where I hold my like pro controller. Because I noticed that my angle like changes sometimes, and I think that messes up like my flicks a lot of the times. So like, if I have my controller like more pointed up, like if I'm in a certain position, that messes with my flicks a little bit. So I'm trying to like make it so my controller is like mostly flat or like in the same position more frequently.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something I'm like working on right now. But I think that like actually affects your gameplay. I think I've just like kind of become aware of it.
Yeah, definitely.
With this video that you're gonna put out, like there is so much that a top 500 player could go over in like a single person's gameplay that it's like it's not reasonable for you to do that in one video. But like I think the overall thing should be like the mindset of how we're looking at things, or like like improving or whatever our approach to how we like think about the game and how we're playing. That's like important. And I think you need good aim to be top 500. You don't need like the best aim ever, but like you can get away with having mediocre aim and you can still get top 500 if you know how to think about the game.
Yeah, more so decision making. Like if you know how to like think about the game, you know how to make decisions more quickly, more effectively.
Yeah, if you're wanting to get like top 100, that's when you have to start really like thinking of like that's when you have to like know how to aim and like win engagements that you're supposed to win 100% of the time, or at least like 90% of the time.
And it's true that you can get to like really high levels too with just mechanics, but that shouldn't be like the main focus of like how to improve.
In competitive, I think Div 2 is as far as you can get with just mechanical skills. Past that, your team needs to know how to work together.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just gonna get stomped on. Even if you have like god tier aim, like if you don't know how to work as a team, it's you're not gonna do much.
Yeah. It's a team game for a reason,
Yeah. Like I will just sit there and wait for you to come into a position where I can kill you at that point.
Yeah. Like my god tier aim won't matter if you just like play a position better than I can, But I honestly think more people should just experiment with things. Like just go out and experiment like positions and tactics and aggression levels and whatnot. Like the people from Splatoon 1 who didn't have like all these guides and content and like sources of information to work on, like we have to figure everything out pretty much by ourselves. And like obviously we did have help with each other, like the small amount of people who did put out content, but like
fun fact with experimenting, I at one point, so I mean like N-Zap, right? That's like my main weapon. I at one point experimented. This is when I was like a high level player too. I experimented with like a double bomb junior, just because I was curious if it could help me with some stuff. I knew that the gear was probably not the best or like the most optimal, but the reason I was trying it out was because on Moray Towers, I was like, it would be really nice if I could just throw a few suction bombs and have like the entire walls of the enemy's like area painted so I can like move around freely. It worked horribly, but like that's like I don't know. Like you shouldn't be afraid to try stuff like that. Even if it's like a normal person would look at that and think it's really bad, and like I myself was looking at that and think it was really bad, but I wanted to try out like a specific strategy and it didn't work, but like you might as well try it.
Something
in solo queue, it doesn't hurt to like try stuff out. Like it's like you might lose some points or whatever, and I don't think your power should matter that much to you unless you're like really trying to get top 500. It's like whatever. Like who cares what your X rank power is at the end of the month if it's like decent enough.
Something niche I like trying out, and I still kind of do sometimes, is specifically on Rainmaker, Mako Mart. I'll like sit in this like no death zone of the Rainmaker pop where like you're like close enough if you have like a midline weapon like Pro that you can shoot into your stack, but like not die to the Rainmaker pop. And I like to just let them pop and then just kill them after they try popping.
Mm-hmm.
And it works sometimes. Sometimes it ends really horribly with me like not having any paint around me. But the point is to experiment, see what you can get away with sometimes and what you can't.
There are some very, very intelligent people and some very, very bizarre but also interesting people. And the main character is a dunce who just wanders through them having no bloody idea what's going on around him. That's kind of the premise, that like he is just completely... He's like... an absurdist comic hero. He's somebody who is just blundering through the world, having no idea what's actually going on, and there's some dramatic irony that we, the viewers, know what's happening better than he does. And so we get to laugh at not only how bizarre everything is around him, but at his lack of understanding of what's going on around him.
Man, that sounds like X-Rank.
X-Rank, the ultimate absurdist comedy.
For real though.